Welcome back. If you will, today in your table of contents, we are going to be talking about exponent rules again, and today we're going to cover the power rule. So this fell on page 55 for me. Put whatever page it is for you, and go ahead and flip over to that page, and we're going to get started. I do already have some examples written, so that way it will take a little bit less time. So if you want to pause and go ahead and write everything I wrote, you may. And then as soon as you unpause, I'll go over it. So the power rule. The power rule is written as x to the a to the b. And what that means is you're going to take x and you're going to do a times b. So you're just going to multiply those exponents. Okay, now this rule is a little bit different than yesterday because if you have an outside coefficient, whether it's a whole number or a fraction, you have to take it to the outside power. So whatever number is outside the parentheses. And then your exponents, you're just going to multiply them. Okay, so for examples 1 through 7, these are just the simple, easy ones. Excuse me. I have x squared to the 5th. Since I do not have a leading coefficient, my coefficient's 1, 1's not going to change anything, you're just going to take the 5 and multiply it by the 2, and that gives you x to the 10th. Okay, for the next example, you have CD squared, again, and it's all to the 3rd. And again, you don't have a leading coefficient. So you're going to take this 3rd, and right now C has a 1 on it. So you're going to do 3 times 1, which gives you C to the 3rd. And then you're going to do 3 times 2, which gives you D to the 6th. So you're kind of backwards distributing in. Okay, for the next one, we have 5x to the 7th squared. Okay, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to put the squared on 5. You're not multiplying those. You are actually, I'm going to come out to the side, you are actually doing 5 squared. 5 squared is 25. And then you take that exponent and multiply it by the little exponent. Okay, so that gives you x, and 7 times 2 is 14. Okay, for my next example, I have 2x squared y all to the 5th. I'm going to take the 5 and put it on 2. So the first thing we're going to do is 2 to the 5th. That means 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 2, which is 8. 8 times 2, which is 16. And 16 times 2, which is 32. Or in your calculator, you can just do 2 to the 5th. Okay? But hopefully y'all can do some of these in your head. Now I take the 5 and I'm going to bring it to the x squared, and I'm going to do 2 times 5, which gives me x to the 10th. And remember, there's a 1 on y, so 5 times 1 gives me y to the 5th. Excuse me. Okay, so now when you have 5, number 5, you have negative 4, c to the 3rd, d to the 4th, all to the 4th. You need to be very careful with your negative signs because negative 4 to the 4th, you're doing negative 4 times negative 4, which is 8. 8 times negative 4, which is negative 64. And then you're doing negative 64 times 4, which is negative 4, which is 256. Or if you want to, in your calculator, you have to be very careful and put it negative 4 in parentheses to the 4th, which gives you the 256. And then you take 4 times 3, which is c to the 12th, and then you do 4 times 4, which is d to the 16th. One moment. Okay, sorry, I'm back. All right, so to keep going, to continue on where we were, now we're going to do negative 3x squared all to the 3rd. So the first thing you're going to do is take negative 3 and put it to the 3rd power. So that's negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. And then 9 times negative 3, which is negative 27. Or again, remember, you can use your calculator and do negative 3 in parentheses to the 3rd, which is negative 27. And then you're just going to multiply your exponents. So you get x to the 6th. Okay, for my last example like this, I have 1/2 a to the 3rd, b to the 4th, c to the 5th. The first thing, all to the 3rd. The first thing you're going to do is take that outside 3 and put it on 1/2. Now, when you are doing fractions, you're technically taking 1 to the 3rd, and 1 to the 3rd is 1. And then you're doing 2 to the third. So that's 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 2, which is 8. So you just have to do both numbers. Or, like I said, grab your calculator. Alpha y equals 1/2 and then 2 to the third. Excuse me. Now just multiply your exponents. So 3 times 3, you get a to the 9th. 3 times 4, you get b to the 12th. And 3 times 5, you get c to the 15th. So those are your answers for the new rule today. Now you're also going to have some mixed practice. So that's why these examples are over here. So when you're doing these, you have to follow in order. And with the rules that you've learned, you're going to start with your power rule, and then you move to multiplication, and then you move to adding or subtracting. So you go backwards from what we've learned. Okay, so I have a to the third times negative a squared b all to the fourth. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is take care of the outside exponent. I'm going to go ahead and write a 1 right here because there is a 1 right there. And so we're doing negative 1 to the fourth. Well, negative 1 to the fourth would be positive 1. And then I multiply my exponents. So 2 times 4 would be a to the 8th. And b has a 1, so 1 times 4 would be b to the 4th. And then I bring down my a to the third times, and now I do my multiplication rule. When you are multiplying, you multiply whole numbers, add exponents. So I technically have 1 times 1, which is 1. If you don't want to write the 1, you don't have to. I have an a to the third and an a to the 8th, so 3 and 8 make 11 because you're adding. And b to the 4th is the only b that I have, so I just bring it over. So I have 1 a to the 11th, b to the 4th. Okay, for 9, I have negative 2ab squared times 3a squared b squared. You must take care of those outside exponents first, so you're going to do negative 2 squared first. Well, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Then multiply your exponents, so 2 times 1 would be a squared, and then 2 times 2 would be b to the 4th. Bring down your times sign. Now we're going to do 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9. And then I multiply. 2 times 2 would be a to the 4th. And b has a 1, so 1 times 2 would be b squared. Now I do my multiplication rule. So I multiply exponents. Multiply coefficients. So 4 times 9 is 36. And then a4 and a2 make a6. And b2 and b4 make b6. And you are done. Okay, for 10, you have 6a squared b to the third times 1/3 abc squared. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is take care of the outside exponents. So 6 to the third. And remember, if you don't want to do it in your head, that's okay. Some of them you can do. Just make sure you do 6 to the third. Oh, I forgot the third. To the third. And I always put it in parentheses so that way if there is a negative, I don't forget it. And then you multiply your exponents. So 2 times 3, you get a to the 6th. And then b has a 1, so 1 times 3 would be b to the third. Bring down your times sign, and now we're doing 1/3 squared. Well, 1/3 squared is 1/9. Now, a, b, and c all have 1, so you're multiplying them each by 2. So it becomes a squared, b squared, c squared. Now it's a multiplication problem, so you're going to do 216 times 1/9. You're more than welcome to use your calculator. So 216 times 1/9, and you get 24. And then you take care of your letters. You're just going to add them. A6 and A2 make A8. B3 and B2 make B5. And I only have C squared, so I bring it over. And there's my answer. Okay, the last example for 11, you have 3x to the third y to the fourth minus 7x squared y squared times x squared y squared. The first thing I'm going to do is take care of my outside exponent, so exponents outside of the parentheses. So I'm going to take this 4, and we're going to do 3 to the fourth. 3 to the fourth is 81, and then I multiply my exponents. So I get x to the 12th and y to the 4th, because remember, there's a 1 on y. Okay, I'm going to bring down my minus sign, but I have another outside exponent, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. So 7 squared is 49. 5 times 2 would be x to the 10th, and y squared. And then I multiply by x squared, y squared, because I have to bring that down. So the next thing I have to do is this multiplication problem. And so 49 times 1 would be 49. If I have an x10 and an x2, I'm adding now, so I have x12. And if I have a y2 and a y2, that becomes y4. I'm going to bring down my 81 x12 y4 minus 49 x12 y4. Well, the only way you can actually subtract is if your letters are the exact same, which they are. So when you do 81 minus 49, you get 32. And when you're adding or subtracting, you never ever change your exponents. So that would be your final answer. Okay. Okay, so 1 second. I'm going to move this down, and I want y'all to pause and write this example down. And I have to do something really quick on the computer, so I'm going to pause while y'all write that. Okay, I'm back. So hopefully now you have written this, and my computer is frozen now. Lovely. Let's see if I can get it to unfreeze. 1 second. Okay, I got it to unfreeze. So now, hopefully you've paused and written that. Okay, so y'all are going to have some challenge problems today, which are the geometric applications. And I wrote some information for you because you know that perimeter means you add all the sides, so you're just adding. Okay, and remember, when you're adding, you only combine like terms. Okay, so the exponents have to look the exact same. Okay, now to find area of a rectangle, you do length times width. To find triangle, you do half of the base times the height. For a trapezoid, you're going to do half of the base 1 plus the base 2 times the height. And for a circle, you use pi r squared. So I picked to show you a triangle, and I gave you these measurements. And the first thing I said was to find perimeter. Well, to find perimeter, you just add all your sides. So we're going to do 4a squared b plus 10a squared b plus 3ab. Okay, when I do that, I look for things that look exactly alike. Well, 4a squared b and 10a squared b look alike, so that becomes 14a squared b, because when you're adding, you never change exponents. And then the plus 3ab is kind of just chilling by itself, so that gets brought over, and there is your perimeter. To find area, we're going to do half of the base. Well, the base is the bottom part, so half of 3ab times the height, and the height is 4a squared b. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and multiply my parentheses because it's hard to take half of 3. I don't want a decimal. So I'm going to keep the half. 3 times 4 is 12, and then you add your exponents, and a and an a squared make a3, and a b make b squared. Now you just have to take half of 12, and you're done. Half of 12 is 6, and you can't take half of exponents, so you have a3 and b squared, and that is your area. So you have a few problems like that today that are challenge problems. If you have any questions, please let me know.